Oh yes, the rise and fall of New Coke. Oh man, I remember this. I remember this insanity vividly. And the funny part was it wasn't even Canada. It was basically an American thing. But I remember New Coke sweeping North America, and to describe the flash and crash of this thing, like I said, I just got to talk about it because I've never seen a product launch go so well, so south, so quick for various reasons. So let's get into it. And if you've tasted New Coke, um, go and get your go for a cancer screening or get your pneumonia shot. Anyways, the glory days begin to fade. I just see there's a lot of advertisements of the army and all that. Coke had a lot of hooks into various services, a lot of things about, hey, we're all American, all that. They were the kings. I mean, they really were the kings. Back in 42, after World War II, Coke ruled the soda world. Had a super healthy market share, little competition, and massive brand recognition. Like I said, Coke controlled 60% of the cola market. And that's just pure cola because there's no diets at the time or anything like that. And they're quite comfortable with 60% of the market. I would be too, actually. Like I said, they had, household recognition, their deals with the armed forces. They were rocking and rolling. So why change, right? Well, fast forward 40 years. Coke's market share drops from 60 to 20% of the cola market. What's happened, though, basically, is a lot of conditions, I'll call it. People are more health conscious. They don't want these sugary drinks. They want to be something more diet friendly, like Tab, which was kind of gross in itself. Uh, so there was a flood of diet drinks on the market, like a Diet Coke, Diet Pepsi, all that kind of stuff. Also, there's a lot of non-cola drinks that are on the market, like Mountain Dew and all that. So basically, Coke is looking at its market share and like, oh my goodness, our cola share is no longer dominating, even though they had other parts of the market. It's kind of funny because they're a victim of their own success. They've released Diet Coke, other flavors of Coke, non cola drinks, and they've actually crushed their own cola market. So I don't know, for whatever reason, they said we need that market share back. We want to be the king of colas once more. I would have looked at my business and said, you know what? I'm doing pretty good. I want to take it as it is. But no, not Coke. Enter the mastermind, Roberto Gozzietta. Takes over Coke as president in 79, becomes chairman in 81. He has a lot of wins under his belt during his time at Coke, including Diet Coke, Cherry Coke. Came out with a lot of popular slogans. All the about 3 or 4 popular slogans that you remember associated with Coke come from him. At the height of his success, Coke actually purchased Columbia Pictures in '82. But he was obsessed with getting back that cola market share, and I mean really obsessed. It haunted his dreams, and he told everybody there are no sacred cows here. That means anything's up for grabs. Now, if you're trying to get back market share and you had a successful product, what would you try to do? Well, you probably try to do a marketing campaign, maybe a giveaway, a tie-in or something, right? Would you drastically alter the product? Like I said, let's say you're selling sports cars. I was known basically for having 6 headlights, and the first thing you do is make it to turn into 2 headlights because people like that kind of thing. Like I could not begin to actually think about actually changing the core makeup of my product, but that's what happened. Known as Project Kansas, launched in late '84. Named for Project Kansas because this is a famous picture of a journalist whose name I forget. I'm terribly embarrassed. A Kansas journalist who drank Coke, basically, and he was always pictured drinking Coke. This picture hung up in a lot of executives' office, and this is what was going to drive them to bring back their market share. The goal of this project: create a new flavor of Coke. Like, not even a new flavor of Coke, just change the formula of Coke altogether. And so they did. They worked day and night. They did taste tests, marketing surveys, test runs and all that. It all came back very positive. We like the new taste. We like what you're doing. It's awesome. Coke's patting themselves on the back very well. However, during the taste test in focus groups, 10 to 12% of the testers were outraged that Coke would actually change this formula. Not because it tasted bad, not because it was unpleasant or anything, just the fact that Coke would actually tamper with their memories or their thoughts of Coke. Coke looked at this, talked to some of their brainiacs, and they said, don't worry about it. It'll all blow over. This is an outlier. Let's talk about the start of sweet success. When it was all said and done, April 23rd, 1985, New Coke is launched. That was just a little under 39 years ago, actually. Gozzietta described it as a bolder, rounder, and more harmonious Coke. It's like everywhere. Like there's advertisements, there's a press conference. It's insane. You couldn't go anywhere without hearing about this new Coke. Stock price rose. And it turns out 80% of the American public were aware of the change. And it was it was amazing. It was covered in the news. Peter Jennings actually said, hey, Coke's changing its flavor. You could not actually buy this amount of free press publicity they were getting. It was a success. Initial sales figures were as predicted, rising 8% over the year before. So that was actually pretty good. McDonald's was a Coke partner. They almost began using it immediately in their fountains. And it was well received there too. Market sales showed that people were buying as much as they were before the change. And they did a survey of people who were drinking it and showed that most Coke drinkers liked the new flavor. It was good. I did drink New Coke. I actually got down south and tried it out. Believe it or not, it tasted like a Pepsi. I'm sorry to say. It was sweeter, a lot sweeter than Coke, if you can believe it, but smoother. So it was more akin to a Diet Pepsi with sugar in it, which you can believe it kind of thing. It wasn't bad, but it didn't really wow me kind of thing. Yeah, I know. My description, people hate that. It tastes like a Pepsi, is what it tasted like. But it was a success. Everybody was patting themselves in the back. Till it wasn't. Diet Pepsi is the best. You know what? It's kind of funny because the whole reason why they changed the formula was a lot of people found Coke to be a very harsh, bubbly, very carbonated beverage. I don't like Diet Coke for that reason. Diet Coke I find is very harsh and lacks a bit of flavor. Diet Pepsi, well, I can actually taste, some simulated sugar there. And Pepsi Zero is even more awesome. Coke Zero is pretty awesome, but you're right. I'm more akin to I like the Diet Pepsi drinks, but I like basically the Coke sugar drinks. It's hard to describe, but that's the way it went. But until it wasn't. Critics in the South hated the change. And it wasn't basically for taste or anything. It was basically thought that it was an assault on their American dream. I do not like regular Pepsi, Brad says. You know what? I take Coke over Pepsi, just the way I am. I like regular Coke, exactly. Like I said, I found New Coke tastes like Pepsi, and I didn't really care for it. It's funny though, isn't it? I do have a Coke preference. That's the way I roll. The South was going crazy. It wasn't because it tasted bad. It was just that it was basically someone would dare change their way of life, what they have grown up with. Some insinuate it was a communist plot. The communists were coming to change Coke on purpose to destroy the American dream. Coke received 40,000 letters of complaints and over 100 calls a day. Yeah, south of the U.S., so the U.S. southern states, because that's basically not. The U.S. southern states is where basically the big Coke market was. And they didn't bother testing it there, and didn't bother asking people about it there. You have to find the regular Pepsi made of real sugar. That they stopped making that again. No, the southern states were raising a lot of stink. Duncan, that's a good point. So back then, it was, well, I said way back when, I go back to the 80s, it was made of cane sugar. That's why I drink Jones soda. It's a whole different taste than the high fructose corn syrup. It's hard to find sodas with cane sugar because it's expensive. But no, the southern U.S. raised the stink and kept raising the stink. TV host comedians began to mock it. So almost nightly there was a joke about Coke this and Coke that, and it was not going away. Some guy informed the Old Coke Drinkers of America, an actual club, and was like, was hoarding old Coke and everything. It was insane. And Pepsi. This is what I miss about the 80s. I miss the Cola Wars and the Burger Wars. Pepsi doubled down. So when New Coke was launched, PepsiCo CEO declared a holiday, a company-wide holiday. Took out a full-page ad in the New York Times saying Pepsi won the Cola Wars. Ran ads showing first-time Pepsi drinkers saying, "Now I know why Coke did it, because they weren't the real thing." Pepsi went right after Coke, and that just dogpiled on. And like when Coke did their release, their news conference, reporters were hammering with Pepsi quotes. It was like ugly. It was a good show to watch, and it didn't go away. People were buying up old Coke and hoarding it. They're trying to find out ways to get Coke from outside the states that was still made the old way. It was disgustingly ugly for no other reason than people were just offended that the Coke changed their formula. So it launched in April 23. As early as May, internal rumblings began about changing back the formula because, they had enough of the being mocked. Bootleg Coca-Cola, pretty much, Duncan. It was like people going across, like, into Mexico, into Canada to get the real Coke. And when the summer came along, usually colas get a bump in the summer in their sales. Coke went flat. No pun intended, actually. That caused a bit of panic. So chemists kept tweaking the formula. They didn't tell anybody, like anybody outside of Coke, anyways, to reduce acidity and everything. People were either buying, or they were buying. Like I said, were buying it outside the states. People were actually boycotting Coke. They're buying it. New Coke pouring it in the streets. They had like signs. It was insane. It was just absolutely insane. And 20 ballers of Coke. I had a lawsuit against the company for the way that they were doing their syrup and all that. They added new Coke to their lawsuit justification, saying that they changed the formula without consultation and all that. Now, I should mention, too, that when Gozzietta talked to... he actually talked to ballers about changing the formula. In March, they were giving him a standing ovation. By May, they were looking to sue him back into oblivion. It was like back when Twitter wasn't a thing. If Twitter was around when this happened, it wouldn't have lasted as long as it did. It would have been just dead on arrival. But everybody was like pitchforks and torches. How dare you do this? It was like it's insane. So, 79 days later, not even 3 months, July 11th, 1985, Cole holds another conference, announcing the return of Old Coke. Peter Jennings interrupted like daytime soaps to bring this breaking news. That's how big it was. So the original form would be called Coca-Cola Classic, and there would be this differentiation in labels for a while. New Coke, Coca-Cola Classic. New Coke became Coke 2 in 1990. And Coke 2 has faded from most of the market by 98 and was gone altogether by 02. It was very risky, my disgust across the telegraph wires. But like I said, it was funny because they by 1990 you couldn't find it anywhere. It was gone, except for some regional stuff. And like you were talking, a few stores carried it in 98, but it was gone by 02. Gozzietta drank this stuff till he died, and he was like, I'm convinced of it. Absolute one of the worst train wrecks, I think, in, like I said, marketing history. Like, to pull a bonehead that, like, all the research to do the formula change, the surveys, the cans, labeling, everything lasted 80 days and was gone again. Now, what went wrong? I love this one. This sign here. It says, "Our children will never know refreshment, no new taste." Well, obviously we talked about it at length. Coke underestimated people's brand's attachment to a brand. That 10% to 12% of people complaining in the surveys, the focus group, should not have been ignored, because that was a clear sign that people were going to be really, really upset that you're actually changing something that I like, even if it's for the better. I'm an attachment for it. It's called sensations transference. Like if I took the Coke can and it's red and white, I changed it to make it green and purple, people would have a fit, because they associate Coke with a red or white can. a certain taste, and so forth, and all that. So that's what's called sensations transference. Is when you look at the color or the smell or something of a product, that gives you basically that reassurance and all that kind of stuff. The sip test produced flaws. So here's something that was really weird. When they were doing surveys and testing of focus groups, they weren't giving people like cases to try. You got basically a Dixie cup. Give it a sip. See what you think. Do you like it or not? What scientists realized, and I guess kind of Coke missed this, is when you take a sip of something, your taste and reaction is greatly different than if you drink 2 or 3 cans of the stuff. So the sip test has a totally opposite, whacked out, not even correct result to what you're getting at for a product. So back in the late 70s, Pepsi did the taste test, which was always fun. You'd have this little blind, the little blind stand. You drink 2 cans of whatever kind of thing. What do you think the Pepsi is? You guess it, haha, whatever kind of thing. And basically, Pepsi used the sip test in their favor because most people like sipping a sip of Pepsi. A sip of new Coke is wildly different from drinking a whole can of it. And here's something that Brad's brought up absolutely earlier in the stream, which absolutely agree kind of thing. Never say something is new if there's an old one already. Coke rejected the slow change over time strategy. If they one of the plans was to take the new Coke formula and slowly introduce it into the Coke cans, and not tell anybody, and just slowly change the formula over time. And there was a recent study that actually did this. They took the Coke formula, the new Coke formula, and over a period of weeks, slowly changed what people were drinking. No one in the study knew. No one in the study really noticed. If Coke had done that, they could have done exactly what they wanted to do. It would have been any big deal. But then they would have gotten all the publicity about having a new flavor, whatever kind of thing. So, and it might defeat the whole purpose of what they're trying to do, if apart from blowing it out of the water. Now, I've got to talk about the conspiracy theories about New Coke. Call Mulder and Scully. Because if you bring up New Coke in the company of Gen Xers, or maybe even some younger people, everybody's got a conspiracy about why it was done. And almost none of the conspiracy people will say they did it because they thought it was a good business move. There's some kind of ulterior motive to why they actually did New Coke. Oh, that's good. That's just water. USSR chips. You're not far off. You're not far off browsing one of them. You'll love this. So first one. Company intentionally changed the formula, hoping consumers would be upset with the company and demand the original formula to return, which in return would cause a spike in sales, or sales a spike basically. So they intentionally sabotaged their product to get people outraged, demand the return of the old thing to buy more of it. That comes up a lot. A response? Keogh, company president, answered this speculation by saying, "We're not that dumb and we're not that smart." It was not the intention at all. One thing that they totally missed during the whole dang thing is at the very same time they released New Coke, another product came out called Cherry Coke. And they weren't tracking Cherry Coke sales as much as they were tracking New Coke sales. That 8% net bump is probably from Cherry Coke's great market selling versus New Coke selling, if anything at all. Cherry Coke back in the 80s was fantastic. It was like a burst of flavor in your mouth. It was good. Cherry Coke nowadays, I think, is kind of a little bit more bland than it used to be. But Cherry Coke, the original, oof. Even the American Cherry Coke today is a lot better than the Canadian Cherry Coke. But it was a massive hit in 85, continues to be today. So, that kind of hid the the not so success that they were having kind of thing. The punitive switch was planned all along to cover the change from sugar sweetened Coke to much less expensive high fructose corn syrup. I can't stand fake cherry flavor. Oh, really? I love fake flavors. I love fake cherry. I love fake grape. You might like a Canadian Cherry Coke if you can find it. The Great Canadian Coca-Cola Conspiracy. Things up here aren't as flavored as good as the Americans, in my opinion, in the US. Our Cherry Coke is pretty mild. Down there, I find it nice and bam, just like, woo, that tastes super awesome. I like fake grape and fake strawberry. I agree, Braz. I love fake grape. But cane sugar was pretty expensive. That's what sodas used to be excuse me, be sweetened with, and they kept going up and up and up. So high fructose corn syrup was a cheap replacement to sweeten things for a long time actually. And they thought that this is the way to actually hide putting HFCS into Coke. No, that's not true at all. Coca-Cola began allowing ballers to move up to half the product's cane sugar by as early as 1980. So back in 1980, the flavor began to change. Trust me on that one. That was about 5 years before New Coke came along. By the time the new formula was already induced, most of the ballers are already sweetened by high fructose corn syrup anyways. That's what you get today. Like I said, I drink the Jones soda, or if you see cane sugar, that's the real stuff that was I was putting the sugar, putting the sodas to sweeten them. It's like night and day. But even the stuff that they claim is sweetened with cane sugar, I don't think is the same as the classic stuff. Royal Crown Cola for me. Oh my God, RC Cola. Wow, I remember that, Duncan. RC was a huge staple up here for a long time. Wow, man, that stuff was sweet. I mean, like sweet, sweet. Oh, that brings back a lot of memories. But no, it wasn't actually tricked to putting high fructose corn syrup into the Coke. It was already in there anyways. And of course, Mr. Braz, to provide cover for the final removal of all coca derivatives for the product to placate the Drug Enforcement Aid Administration, which is trying to eradicate the plant worldwide to combat an increase in cocaine trafficking consumption. Coke used to have cocaine in it. That's why it was so popular for a long time. It was a headache cure. You go down to the drugstore, sell it up to the soda bar, and the soda jerk would make you a Coke with probably Coke in it. No, the new Coke had zero Coke in it. There's no pressure from the day to do this. It's already moved, some time from beyond this kind of thing. So no, it was not to remove the remaining traces of Coke in it. It was just basically a bad marketing move all around. Man, RC Cola for me. Now, having said all that, there's more kick in the can. Like I said, I never thought I would see New Coke back, but nostalgia is a powerful, powerful, powerful force, especially merchandising. Stranger Things Season 3. In 2019, Coke announced New Coke would be reintroduced in limited quantities. Stranger Things Season 3 takes place at the Star Court Mall, which did a pretty good job at capturing the mall. Also takes place in 85, same year as New Coke. So Coke did a cross promotion. And they made 500,000 cans. Most of it sold online. There's a few in vending machines in New York and Los Angeles, but you can only get this New Coke reintroduced back online in the original formula. So how do you think people reacted? This reintroduction? They kind of said, no, big deal? No. It sucked before? Let me tell you this. The website selling New Coke for Stranger Things crashed a few times. The demand was so high, you couldn't get it. If you go online on eBay, these cans are selling for like $80 sealed. But I was saying here, Stranger Things Season 3 reintroduced, crash website, and people went nuts for it. They scooped it up. The most prevailing things about it was weird then and it was weird now. So, like I said, nostalgia is a powerful device. Do not underestimate the power of it. And as Braz says, sometimes you can't call old things new, and sometimes you can if people are willing to pay for it. And that is the bizarreness. That is New Coke.